Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 2. Here's the member. Aulia Putra Anugra, Bunga Syalshabila, Salsa Fadilah. We will do presentation about linguistic varieties and multilingual nations.
So here's the table of content. The first is linguistic varieties and multilingual nations. Second one is vernacular languages. The third one is standard language. The fourth one lingua franca, and the last is Fijian and Creole.
So, the first material will be delivered by myself. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Salsa Fadilah. So, now I'm going to explain about linguistic varieties and multilingual nations. First of all, the majority of countries on the world are multilingual as a result of demographic globalization and migration. Even Europe's remaining purportedly monolingual countries are becoming increasingly multilingual and multicultural. For example, with a population of over a billion people, Indians speak hundreds of different languages. The precise number varies based on what qualifies as a distinct language versus a dialect of another. It's easy to consider the country's challenge at the national level because there's such cultural diversity. Linguistic and cultural diversity are gradually being recognized as qualities that individual nations that the international community must uphold, defend, preserve, and transfer from generation to generation as a legacy to posterity in a world that is fundamentally and intrinsically multilingual.
Okay, next to vernacular languages. The word vernacular has a multitude of interpretation. It usually applies to a language that has not been standardized and is not recognized by the government. It is used in everyday communication at home and between close friends. As one type of language variety style, which refers to the choice of certain linguistic forms that have the same meaning, has an important role in communication. In communication, a speaker uses different styles in order not to bother the situation of speaking and not to offend the hearer. The use of different language style can also be observed in movies or films. Films are one communication media whose stories frequently reflect social reality and contain criticism.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aulia Putra Anugra, and today I will explain about standard language and lingua franca. Standard language are written language and have undergone regulations and codification. For example, in grammar and in dictionaries. The standard language also serves as an official language and a particular dialect with particular concern. Because of the influence of social, economic, and political become prestigious and influential. So, in other words, the standard language has the higher function of the diversity of language used in everyday life. It is the 16th century views of George Putenham about where young writers will find most acceptable variety of English. Good English speech is to be heard, in the opinion of the Putenham. He was mostly right in identifying the origin of social and regional varieties which we now regard as standard English. For example, humans where they live using a standard language in their place. Indonesian people use Bahasa Indonesia as their standard language. And next, we are talking about lingua franca. Lingua franca is a linguistic system that is used as a means of temporary communication by participants who have different mother tongues. The Choice of a language to become the lingua franca is based on mutual understanding between them. In some countries, the most widely spoken lingua franca is the official or national language of that country. Bahasa Indonesia and Malay are still the lingua franca in the Southeast Asian region. English in India and the Philippines were appointed politically as become the official state language is because English has become the lingua franca in both countries. Since the basis of choosing a lingua franca is the mutual understanding between its users, any language, including Pidgin or Creole, can be a lingua franca. For example, academics and experts meet at international conferences or when politicians organize summits. English, French, or Spanish is often used as a lingua franca. That's all from me. Thank you.
Pidgin and Creole. A pidgin is a language which has no native speakers. Pidgins develop as a means of communication between people who don't have a common language. So a pidgin is no one's native language. The characteristics of pidgin. The first is it is used in restricted domains and function. And the second is it has a simplified structure compared to the source language. And the last is it generally has low prestige and attracts a negative attitude, especially from outsiders. A Creole is a pidgin which has acquired native speakers. Many of the languages which are called pidgins are in fact now Creole language. They are learned by children as their first language and used in a wide range of domains. Creole languages, however, do develop ways of systematically signaling meanings such as verb tenses, and this may develop into inflections or affixes over time. The past tense in Creole language is signaled by the particle bien, while the progressive aspect is marked by the suffix bad, which is attached to the verb. Creole has developed it can be used for all the functions of any language such as politics, education, administration, original literature, and so on. One of the reasons linguists find the study of pidgins and Creole so fascinating is precisely that they provide laboratories of language change in progress, and for testing hypotheses about universal linguistic features and processes. Opportunities to observe the development of new Creole forms at first hand are not easy to find, but one recent example is Nicaraguan Sign Language, a Creole which is developing among school children in Nicaragua.
Okay, thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.